Hi guys, this is Michael from the Boardgames Chronicle. Welcome to another exciting material about Plantagenet. So this is a fourth volume in Levy campaign series started by Volker Runke, to which he actually invited a lot of new interesting designers. And in this particular case, the Plantagenet is designed by Francisco Gradaille. This is the second material I'm doing about this game. Actually, third material. The first material was a first look at unboxing, talking about history, talking about what we have in the box. The second material which I created was a pretty thorough blog entry where I described my first impression with the game. I played it solo. I played most of the scenarios and so on. So I thought now let's talk about how to play this game. In this particular material, I will be talking about how to play the game, how to set it up, what are the main rules, what are victory conditions, and so on and so forth. This will be a pretty thorough explanation of this game. So if you'd like to see only what changed between the previous three installments and this installment, I might ask you to look at my another material, which will be published soon after this one, where I will be focusing entirely on changes which Plantagenet brings to the Levy campaign series. So this would be next material. In this, we'll be doing kind of a how to play, teach and play material. I will also create one more after all of those, where I will do a specific battle, because battles takes a lot of time, and even today, when explaining how to play, I will tell you about the battle setup, about how the battle are resolved, but I will not be playing actual battle. We'll leave it for a separate material where we'll go and do it end to end. Okay, so just a brief recap, what's the game about. We are in the 15th century England, and this is set of Wars of the Roses between Lancastrians and Yorks, a very famous period in the English history. We had like over 30 years of a conflict, and this was not a permanent conflict. The conflict we can divide in three stages, in three wars. Yes, actually, out of those 30 years, maybe 6-7 years were of actual very active military actions, and the battles, yeah, there were a few of them. We have Bosworth, we have Towntown, we have a couple of others which really decided about the fate of England. Needless to say, they were fighting, and then, at the end of a third war, Tudors managed to convert both sides together, and even the rose, which was red or white, was was changed to the Tudor rose, which was red and white. Yeah, so we might say that we had a happy ending, yeah, to this series of wars. Okay, I will be using the Plantagenet rulebook, which will be reminding me what I wanted to talk about. I will not be reading this. I think I know most of the rules by heart now after playing so much. And I will be also using another very important element, which is fantastic player aid. This is something which I really like in Levy campaign series. The player aids. Once you read the rulebook once, you probably don't need it anymore because the player aid is so good. You need to get used to a little cryptic type of the wording of the things in the player aid. They are done in that way to save the space, of course. And if you played Coin Gaze by Volker Runke, I believe you are used to it. Yeah, but some of the things are pretty shortened in order to put as much as possible information on the player aid. We'll show it later on. Okay, so this was an introduction As for the actual play of the game, this does not differ from other games in Levy campaign, because we would have two phases, Levy and campaign. Surprise, surprise, yeah, of course. In the Levy phase, we will be preparing our troops, forces, maybe provender, maybe other, assets, maybe levying lords, maybe levying vassals, maybe levying troops. Just get everything we need for the incoming campaign. And during campaign, we would have, actual actions of the lords of the map, which are pre-planned. This is very important, and I really, really like this in Levy campaign. It's not like I go, you go. No, we have cards. We prepare the sequence of play for the campaign, and then we execute the sequence of play. So if something is happening which was unexpected on the map, well, if you have not planned for this, it will hit you. And I love this aspect of the game. I really, really love this aspect of the game of planning and pre-planning the campaign. Actually, flexible reaction to the changing environment on the battlefield, on a tactical level, or even operational level, was not something which was, very common in the Middle Ages. I would say this was not common for the most of the human history. From the Napoleonic Wars through 19th and 20th century, I think it was developing much better. Now, today, we have this decentralized, command structure, not because this is a fancy new concept, but because it actually allows you to react to the changing environment. Here, if you have a lord with a lot of troops, provender, which is traveling here, usually he will be traveling here. This is his plan, this is what he wants to do, and really, he puts so much effort and so much preparation that he rather not change it, and not flexibly react if he's intercepted from this part. Okay, guys, I believe it's time to start to talk about the rules and about how to play the Plantagenet. I will start with the most obvious thing, with a map. So what we can see here is a map of medieval England around 1459, 1460, something like this. What do we have here? A lot of things, as you can see. First of all, maybe I would start with so-called big things. Here is the map. Here is the tracker of various numbers. I will tell what is next there. Here we have a calendar, and we have also some additional stuff around it. First and foremost, we have locales, so spaces. This is kind of a point-to-point map, although not necessarily fully should be treated like this. We have three types of locales. You can see them here: towns, cities, fortresses. You can see that Chester is a town. You can see that, for example, I don't know, Lynn is a fortress, and you can see a lot of towns here: Dorchester, Southampton, and other like this. So we have three types of locales: towns, cities, and fortresses, plus three special spaces, special locales. One is Harlech, one is Calais, Calais was British then, and one is, of course, London. So those three spaces will have slightly different rules than the other part of the map, so other generic locales, towns, cities, and fortresses, but I will tell you about it in a moment. By the way, what you see on the map, just a comment, this is setup of the first war of the roses. I just didn't want the map to be empty, so I set up the first scenario, the first big scenario, so we can talk about the rules and the map with some actual pieces on this. So these are the locales. There are also additional locales which are new to the game. These are the exile boxes: Ireland, France, Burgundy, and Scotland. And these are the areas where the lords will voluntarily or involuntarily go to exile during the game. and then they came back. This was pretty common during the Wars of the Roses, that instead of fighting the battle, the Lord will simply go to exile to avoid being crushed or defeat or simply the death. So this will be very important part, and depending on scenario, they might be friendly to Yorks, white color, or Lancasters, so the red color. And probably I should tell it earlier, but if you see anything white, it will be York related. If you see anything red, it will be Lancaster related. They can change from scenario, so with this way you can move those, let's say, markers, those roses, according to the situation in the game. By the way, one more thing, during the War of the Roses, there was a lot of changes of the sides. So you will see lords like Warwick, I believe even Northumberland, and a couple of others who actually change the sides, and you have two sets of cylinders and other pieces, game pieces for them in two colors, white and red. So that's interesting stuff. Yeah, what do we see on the map? We see also so-called lord seats. These are the lord seats. Depending which lords takes part in the scenario, you would have those lord seats, and some of the lords will be on map, some will be on the calendar. And this is not pre-printed, also because some of those lords will change allegiance, and you would need to have different color. So in case of Warwick, we have also the red one. Yep. So you can see that depending on scenario, we'll simply use the one on which side he was at this particular moment in time. On the map, you would also have vassal seats, and they are pre-printed. You can see these are the vassal seats, and these are the vassal markers. We'll tell a little more about it later on. You would be probably curious why there are two of them and not one. There is a reason for this. So vassal seats, they are pretty fixed. By the way, vassals here and lords here are not so distinct in importance, I would say. In the previous games, you had purely an overlord and his vassals. Here you have rather like more active lords. These are the ones with cylinders, and less active lords. These are kind of a vassals or supporters or allies to the cause, I would say. Okay, another very important piece on the map is this small white or red pieces looking like this, two-sided. This is the favor. So actually, the locale, town, city, fortress, and 3 special locales can be either neutral, they can support Lancastrians, or they can support Yorks. This is a very important concept in this game. It's concept, in the previous games you had rather control. Here you have rather support, favor. Yeah, so this is really showing us which side particular locale is supporting. We would have also something new on the map. This will be markers for depleted and exhausted. You see, when you will be levying troops, when you will be foraging, supplying, taxing, and so on and so forth, maybe even pillaging, you will be actually using the potential of particular locale. If you do it first time, you deplete it. If you do it second time, you exhaust it. So you flip from depleted to exhausted. And you cannot use this locale anymore for all of those actions which require this, exhaustion or depletion, because it's already exhausted. There will be moments in the time in the game when it will be changing, but in essence, this simply prevents some actions to be taken in particular locales. during the game, you really start to have problem at some point in time with feeding your troops or with paying your troops, because a lot of country will be simply exhausted. So this exhaustion also shows, reluctance of a local population, of local lords, of local nobles, to simply support both sides because they are tired of war here. I would say this is the main reason. Now, moving forward, what do we have here? As I told you, we have three types of locales, and they are connected by three types of ways. We have highway, we have road, and we have path. You can see here the north-south highway. You can see the paths here, 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 here. Not paths, roads. And paths are mainly here. What would this actually mean? On highways, you will be moving pretty quickly. One action to highways. Road is just in the middle. One action, one road. Path would be the slowest. You need to use all actions on your card to move through this. On the map, we have also seas. We have North Sea, we have English Channel, and we have Irish Sea. And we have also ports. Ports are the locales with anchor. You can see not every locale which is nearby the sea is the port. And you will be able to travel between actually the exile boxes to the sea, from sea to the port, and from the port, of course, to the seas, and between seas. We'll be talking about this when we have the action. This will be sail action, yeah, and when we have sail action to be discussed, and then exactly it will be important point of discussion. Just let me see if I want to say anything more about the map. I believe most of the things were discussed. Calendar, of course, calendar is one more thing, and track. So this is 45 points track. It helps to track various things. First of all, influence. We'll talk about this in a moment. Then the control of towns, cities, and fortresses. It's two-sided. And you simply calculate how many fortresses, how many cities, how many towns each side controls. Here we have, of course, draw 0, but here we have one more fortress on the York side. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, and then we have also victory check. So if any of the sides reaches this point and we are at the victory check at the end of campaign, that side will win. We will also be able to track hits on this, track and other stuff if needed. Then we have calendar. This is pretty generic calendar. You see, previous Levy campaign games usually span 1 to 3 years, something like this. Yes. In this case, it's differently. We have wars which were like 10 years apart, 7 years apart, even more years apart. That means that we cannot have, such approach here. It has to be done differently, and it is done, differently. First of all, this is a generic calendar of 60 to 90 days intervals. So, for example, here we have January, February, March. Here we have April, May. Then we have June, July, August, September, and then again October, November, December. And this is the whole year. Yeah, this is the whole year with winter, spring, summer, autumn, again winter. And depending on which part of the year we are in, the more actions or the less actions you can do. During the winter, 4 actions. Spring, 6 actions. During the summer, 7. Autumn, 6. And winter, again, 4. Also, we'll have this grow and waste phases. During the grow phase, we'll be removing the depleted and exhausted markers. Actually, exhausted will be flipping to depleted, and depleted will be removing. And during the waste, we'll be reducing the Lord's, assets. Yeah, let's say. There will be also very important gate Lord influence action at some point, but I will tell you about this in a moment. Looking at the map, guys, and I believe we just covered everything regarding the map, so we'll be able to move forward. Let's talk about influence. Influence is a pretty unique mechanic, and when I will be talking about the changes between Plantagenet and other Levy campaign series, this will be my first point, most fundamental. Influence is at the one side a victory point in this game. At the other side, it's also a currency to pay for many of the actions, especially for influence checks. This is the influence. It starts at 0, yeah, and you will be able to spend influence, lose influence, and gain influence. Again, I told you the player aid is fantastic. The player aid has all the summary of the influence actions here. How do you spend on influence check? How do you spend it during the levy phase to pay the lords? And actually, you will be also paying for extending of the vassals. How you can lose the influence during the pillage, if a lord disbands, for example, in the war, in the battle, or if he cannot hit himself. How exile, also how we can lose, yeah, when going to exile. Okay, this is the war setup. This is for the campaign play, yeah, so something different. How do we gain? During the battle one, through the Arts of War cards, but also Tides of War. There's a very nice mechanic here that at the end of every campaign, we'll be checking the situation on the map. What we'll be checking? We'll be checking the control, we'll be checking of control of the locales, of the special locales, capability cards, other stuff like this. We'll be also checking one thing which I haven't told you about the map, so the control of the Wales. You see the green line, this is Wales. The north, this is here, and the south, this is here. So whoever will be controlling each and every locale level will gain additional points. So influence is a key mechanic in the game, very important, and one of the pretty innovative ones, because you will be using influence in order to invest in the control of the fortresses, cities, and towns, which in the end will be giving you the influence. But before you reap this influence, you need to invest this influence. Very, very cool mechanic, and I love it. I simply love it, and there's always this balance. Okay, how much should I spend? How much should I risk the battle? What should I do? Really, really, really cool approach. So we'll talk about influence also during the discussion of the commands. Now let me move to lords and vassals. I need some more space to be able to do it. So lords and vassals. We have some changes to lords and vassals in Plantagenet. First of all, we would not have pre-printed lords and vassals much, but we will have ones which will be setting up. Again, you might ask why. The answer is pretty clear. The lords were changing the sides. That means that sometimes the lord will be with a white background, sometimes with a red background. Some of the lords have two types of them because, I don't know, they were wounded or they went to exile, and when they came back, they were not the same lords as in the past. Yeah. So this could be potentially, yeah, the thing. So lords will have cards mats, cylinders, and of course those, how do you call them? Seats, of course, seats. So let me put, for example, the setup here. In the setup on the Lancastrian side, you would have Henry and Somerset. Actually, can you see it? Yes, you should be able to see it pretty nicely. Let me even zoom in a bit that way. So yeah, we would have Somerset and Henry, York and March. Each of them will have its retinue. Retinue are the knights who are traveling with them, who are, you know, really nicely armored, 1 to 4 defense, and who are hard hitting, 3 melee hits. They will have also, and now we should probably analyze the card. Let me take the Somerset. What do we have on such a Lord card? Couple of things. First of all, we have its badge, which will be important because, for example, it will be differentiating him on the map also. So badge. Then we have, surprise, surprise, Lord version. This is version 1. There are 2 versions of a Somerset. Then we'll have his, place of Lord seat. This is Wells, and I believe Wells is here. Yeah, that's correct. Whether he's lieutenant or marshal, lieutenants and marshals can actually bring more lords with them. Then we will have the most important part. So it's statistics, influence, lordship, command, valor. We'll talk about this in a moment. Then we have its starting troop when it's being mastered or at the beginning of a scenario. So retinue, 2 men-at-arms and 2 longbowmen. Let me bring them immediately. This is how you set it up. You put it here. Exactly. Maybe not the strongest lord, only 4 units, but still. And then you have also the starting assets, which he will have 2 provender, 1 coin, 2 cards. Let's put it here also. I have it here. 2 provender, 1 coin, and 2 cards. Good. Now, let's talk a little more about those, how you call them, characteristics of the Lord. First of all, influence. The influence is actually die roll range for influence checks. We'll talk later on about influence checks, but simply you roll a die, 6-sided die, and if you roll from 1 to the influence level, so 1 to 5, it will succeed. On 6, you will fail. So he is very good at influence. Lordship, this is the number of levy actions that the Lord can take during the levy phase. It's actually the master phase of a levy phase, but simply the number of actions which will help you to prepare for the campaign. Command is used during the campaigns. It's number of command actions that the Lord can take each time the Lord's card is being drawn during the campaign. Valor, something completely new. This is a first of all die roll range to intercept enemy when it's adjacent. So 1, 2 on 6-sided die, but also 2 rerolls during the actual battle. Really cool new mechanic, of course. Okay, I believe what I should tell you also about is the Lord's card. So it's just like in previous Levian campaign games. You have Lord's cards, 3 for Henry, 3 for Somerset, you have passes, and out of this you set up the deck for the campaign, which you will be playing then according to what you prepare. Okay, guys, I promised you to tell you a little more about the vassals, which is of course important. And yeah, let us zoom in on a particular vassal like Devon, who will in the future also can become a real lord. So if you look at the vassal, you have of course its badge, you have its rating for how long he will stay in service and whom he likes actually. So toward which side he has a favor, because during the Levy phase of actually master subphase of the Levy, you will be able to master him, and you will be doing what? Influence check, and this influence check will be positively modified for the Lancastrians by 1, or negatively modified if Yorks are doing this, because he favors, of course, Lancastrians. Now, why there are 2 cheats? Because one of the cheats you put here. We start in a Levy phase of the first turn. So in the third turn, either we pay the influence to extend him, or he will come back. And the second, you would be putting on the actual Lord mat. So that is why you have to want to show with whom he is now traveling and with whom he's who is he supporting. And here we simply show, okay, in this phase we need to check whether he will simply come back to his seat, or maybe will pay influence to extend his service even more. So we'll be doing the influence check, so rolling on this influence characteristics. But by the way, you can see that, for example, starting Lancastrians have very good influence ratings. Henry and Somerset have 5. And on the other hand, unfortunately, the Yorks, we have a very good York with 5. But March is rather poor, only 2 influence rating. Except for those vassals which are on the map, we have also a couple of special vassals which can be brought only by events. So you can see them here: Hastings, Stanley, Montagu, Edward. So these are the special vassals. They might have a little better rating in battle, or they may give some additional bonuses. It depends, actually on their special ability. To finish the discussion about the vassals lords, one more thing which I wanted to show. The lords have also so-called Arts of War cards, which at the top have the event, which will be resolving, but at the bottom have capability. They are divided into the 4 types. We have the generic cards, which are used every war. And then we have special cards for each war. You see, this is 1 row. This means first war. Here we would have second war card and third war card. And as you can see, if there is a capability saying any lord can use it, but usually in the first, second, third word you would have only some of the lords being able to use this capability. And when you, let me take some Somerset, no, I don't have hand, but in essence you put it below this mat, and you see only the capability for this lord, and that way you mark it. So Arts of War are also kind part of a lord setup. When we'll be playing, the Levy part of the game, initially you will be drawing some capabilities. Then you can buy them also. Later on, it will be events. I believe that is now all for the lords and vassals. Let's talk a little bit about some additional stuff, and we'll be ready to go into the sequence of play. Forces. These are the forces we have in the game. And these are the main terms. This is the militia. This is the longbowmen. On top of this, we have also two other types. One of them is mercenaries, and the other, let me just check the name. These are the handgunners. So these are the mercenaries, and these are the handgunners. And yeah, while those you levy usually with your regular levy or levy action or master, this comes only from the events. And as a forces, we treat also the retinue and the mastered lords. And now let me show you, of course, player 8, which I'm a big supporter of. What does it tell us about the forces? First of all, let me put it like this so you can see clearly. These are all the forces in the game. Retinue, I showed you, vassals, many terms, longbowmen, militia, mercenaries, handgunners. It shows what kind of strike it does. So 3 in melee, 2 in melee, 1 in melee, very strong missile attack, because it's like 2. Then we have militia, which is half melee, half in the range. Mercenaries, yeah, half, and handgunners. This is the gunpowder, but this is two hits. And it also shows you protection. So once you assign hit against this unit, you roll a die. On 1-4, they survive. On 1-3, these are unarmored, so only on 1. These are on 1-3. When you finish the battle and you have some rotated units, so moved here, you will also check who of them survived. Of course, those parameters can be augmented, and there are some, capabilities which say, okay, with Piccaninniers, armor 1-4, not only 1. So there are a lot of capabilities which will help to make those units much stronger. In essence, I would say in this game we don't have too many types of the forces. 5 basic ones and 2 additional, it's not much. In Almoravid or even Inferno, you would have many more units, troops. Especially in Almoravid, you have completely different on the Christian and Muslim side. You have some horse archers and so on and so forth. Here, it's much more generic. And I believe also much easier to grasp and to cope with. Yeah, so those forces, yeah, are pretty straightforward. Okay, I believe that before we jump into the levy and campaign discussion, one more thing. Assets. We have 4 types of assets. Let me bring it here, it will be easier. We have provender, which we use to feed our troops. We have cards, which we use to transport the provender. We have coins, with which we need to pay our troops. We don't need to transport. And we have ships. These are the English ships. There are like 9 of them. I believe 9 markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. And this is maximum. You cannot have more. Those, if you lack, you can have more, add some additional spares. But this is the total number. And no lord can have more than 2 ships. And the ships will be able to allow you to sail and bring some additional stuff. And every lord has some starting, assets. Some of them have ships, like Warwick will have ships when we'll be starting from here. And you really would need it. It's not so unforgiving, I would say, as in previous games in the campaign, but still, when you move, when you fight, you need provender. Each levy's turn, you need to pay for the next season to your troops. So you need to take care of this. Cards, yeah, will allow you to bring this provender to the battle through the roads. And we have also some additional markers on the map. Most of them you know. So these are, let me take the forces back. They can be here if we need them. So these are the markers showing allegiance of the exile boxes. These are the counters which shows you how many town, cities, fortresses each side has. You know, this is simply if for example 2 more fortresses will go to Lancaster, they will go to 0 and then to 1. So this is the net value, not total. This is net. IP, so influence points also is a net value. Maybe I should add it here. We'll have a marker for battle. We'll have also the reminders that we need to feed the particular lord once it moved. And yeah, we have also valor. I told you about valor. It's good to add it on the lord when we start the battle, not to forget it and then spend it. And we have also the exile on this side if needed. And I believe it's everything. We'll pause now for a bit and then we will jump to actually discussing levy and campaign phases. Okay, guys, after a brief pause, we will be moving back to our explanation of Plantagenet. One thing I need some materials here, which I would like to discuss now, is detailed sequence of play. This will be pretty similar to other games in the series. Yeah, there will be Levy phase and there will be campaign phase. However, there will be some twists to this. When explaining, I will definitely use this fantastic player aid, which has everything you need. Sequence of play with details is here. You have battle here described. You have forces as well as strongholds here. Then you have commands and all these influence points, which are really, really important. So when we look at the sequence of play, this player aid might seem busy, but it actually contains everything you need to play. Let's look here. This is a high-level sequence of play. Each turn has 60 to 90 days, as I was showing you on the calendar. Here are the turns. Each turn will consist of two big let's say, parts, levy and campaign. And we'll be going in days what we have in levy, like Arts of War, paying, exiles and vassals, and mastering. And then in campaign, we will have actually planning and executing the plan, and then some cleanup activities and points too. The player aid shows you how to do the check influence. We'll focus on this in a moment. How deplete exhaust works, what's the pillage thing, how do you achieve a victory, what's a friendly locale, how do you feed. So all these small pieces of information, which you usually try to look in the rulebook, look for in the rulebook, they are here, and they are pretty handy. Okay. Let's start with the Levy phase. The Levy phase starts with the Art of War. And Art of War is actually taking the Arts of War cards. Let me bring them to you. Both sides will be using Arts of War cards. And in the first turn, if I remember correctly, we draw 2 cards and they are treated as capabilities. And of course, you do the Arts of War deck as per the war. So for the first war, you have generic and first war cards. Here they are. For the second war, you have generic and second war cards. For the third war, generic and third war cards. You draw 2 cards at the beginning of the game, and you need to plug them into the leaders. Let me take the red ones and let us do it. What that means? That means that it's kind of a random start for each and every player, because you cannot discard the capability card during the game unless you go to exile or you're dead. So then you will do it. So if we draw, for example, 2 cards like this to any, we would need to tuck it under, one or the other leader. Each leader can have maximum of 2 capabilities, as you can see, and then they will be helping him during the game. This is, for example, this lord can levy troops from adjacent friendly stronghold where no enemy lord. So not only from the place where he's standing, but from the adjacent friendly one. And for example, here at the start of round 1 of battle, this lord may discard this card to add 1 die roll of missile hits. Pretty good. And this is one of those capabilities which you discard after using. So this is the first step of the Levy phase, Arts of War, which you draw as a capabilities in the first turn. Then each following turn, you will be doing the event. So you will be drawing 2 cards from the set and reading what is at the top, which can really change particular campaign, particular Levy phase. This is really cool thing. With time, you will learn those cards. You will see more or less which capabilities and which events are here. Of course, if you later on will be buying capability, you will be neutralizing the event, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. So it will come with time. It took me like 2-3 plays before I really knew which capabilities I like, which capabilities I can use for particular reason and I like, and which are not so maybe so sexy and not so useful. So the first step of Levy phase is Arts of War. Then we have pay. Very important phase, as you might imagine, because if we don't pay, we'll face some serious consequences. We don't pay in the first levy at the beginning of the game, and the rebels pay first and the kings later on. Each scenario shows who is the king, who is the rebel. Usually the ones occupying London will be the king, and the ones not occupying the London will be rebels. Rebels will usually move first in campaign, first in levy. They will have first. They will be first to react. Oh, however, it's king who will be finishing the turn or finishing the particular actions. First of all, we pay for troops. Each lord must pay 1 coin per 6 troops, rounded up. So if you have 9 troops, you pay 2 provender. And this is where those things will be actually utilized. If you don't have, the troops will pillage. What is pillaging? Pillage, if the lord has unfed troops, like here, or unpaid troops, they will pillage. Sorry, I said provender. It's of course coins. We are paying the troops here. We use food when we need to feed them, when we move or fight. So quickly, if you need to pillage, what will happen? You will gather the resources from the particular stronghold, but you will lose twice as much influence. It will turn to the favor of your opponent. All adjacent will also turn one step toward unfriendly. So it's a huge cost. But if you don't have the food, you have to pillage, and you still don't have enough food or enough money, well, you will disband your lot, unfortunately. And you can see here that if still unpaid, unfed, disband unpaid, unfed lords lose influence. So that could be really disastrous. And this is one of the game elements you need to pay attention to. If you manage to find yourself in a situation when you have to pillage or you force your enemy, it could be a game-changing, game-breaking event. So be careful with this. Paying for troops, then paying for lords. Lords may disband, or they simply are removed from the map. Maybe you would like to disband because you don't like the capability. And disbanding move them that many calendar days, calendar spaces are forward, which is equal to 6 minus influence. So for example, if this guy will disband, he will be ready already next calendar, let's say, space. But if the March disbands, it's 6 minus 2, it's 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 only in the 5th season. So that shows that if you have much more influence, it's much easier for you to come back and fight longer. If you don't disband, you must pay 1 influence for each lord at a stronghold, or 2 influence for each in the exile. So in this case, we have 2 Yorks and 2 Lancasters So each side would pay 2, so influence points will not change. But for example, if we had Margaret, I don't know, here, for example, in the exile box, that means that the York would need to pay 2 more, so the influence will go to Lancasters. Yeah, if I need to pay 2 more, it moves from 0 to 2 on Lancaster side. So we paid troops, we paid lords, we might need to pay vassals. I told you that vassals may be disbanded, or if they are here, for example, let's say we are in this levy phase, this is the vassal here, he is also traveling with those guys. We are at the levy, we either disband those guys, or we simply pay 1, we extend it, and we can still use his services. So you see, this paying part of the levy touches troops, lords, and vassals. All 3 have to be paid, usually. Vassals sometimes might not, but in essence, yeah, we need to pay all of 3 of them. Then we have exiles and vassals. Rebels that king said may master this turn exile lords, no check, no cost, into exile boxes. What that means, if we have somebody who during the game went to the exile and is standing, for example, here, let me bring some guy. Okay, we are moving to the levy phase here, to the step exiles and vassals, and see, oh, this guy is exiled. I can immediately master him. There are rules where he can be mastered, probably here, for example. And this is free of charge. And this is not using your lordship. It's simply automatic. If there is a lord in exile and he's waiting on calendar, he moves from the exile calendar box to some exile boxes on the map, which are, as I told you, additional locales, something new to the game. And then we have the most important part, master. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options to do. Master, we are doing using the lordship. So this is 2 lordship, 2 lordship, 3 lordship, 2 lordship. And things which we have here will be pretty similar to what you would expect in Levy campaign. We will not talk about Parley yet in a moment. I will talk about number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we check influence to levy ready lord, if any free seat. At own seat if able, and set favor to particular side. What does it mean? It means, for example, if we are in the this phase, and this is the rebel phase, so the white phase, the York phase, we can say, okay, I'm levying this lord. It's free, yeah, this is free seat of him. I can do influence with York. Let me use one of his command lordships. This is 5, okay. So the influence, I roll 1 die, and up to 5 I succeed, 6 I fail. If I succeeded, I move him here, and I place the favor, and I immediately adjust this. If this would be enemy occupied, I can levy him in any other friendly seat, so for example here or here. And this check influence thing is one of the steps which we'll be doing pretty often. So this is also referred here. Require to Parley. We'll talk about Parley in a moment. To levy lords or levy vassals. Procedure is spend 1 influence point. We need to pay, yeah, for influence check. We can add, we can spend additional 1 influence point to add 1 to the roll, or 3 influence points to add 2 to the roll. Parley will require something more. Levying vassals. If we levy vassal, we add to the roll. I told you those colors, yes. Like for example, if it's 1. It's 1 white. That means that the York will have easier to simply get them. Die roll equal to or less than the modified influence rating. Success. Exception. Natural 1 is always success. Natural 6 is always a failure. Okay, so this is how do we levy the lord. Now, 3, we can also check influence. So this procedure here, in order to levy ready vassal, if vassal says city is friendly. So in order to levy vassal, for example, here by the Yorks, it has to be friendly. So he is actually favoring the Yorks. So it's not enough that he has, I don't know, in general, easier to be levied because he has this one white here. You also need to have a favor there. So this vassal would like to join you. Okay, then we can levy troops at an exhausted stronghold, and then you deplete it. And now the stronghold tab comes handy because you see this is the city, town, fortress, London, Calais, Harlech. Told you these are generic locales and these are special locales. And when you look at the levy troops, this is which troops it will yield. And look, fortress, and Harlech was a special fortress, yields best troops, men-at-arms, and longbowmen. Calais is also pretty good. London, okay. But for example, town, only 2 militia. So these are the troops you are getting when you are doing the troops during the levy phase. You can also levy transport, either 2 carts or, if you're at the port, 1 ship. Last but not least, something which will be taking a lot of time you at the beginning, you can levy capability card. I told you that at the beginning, in the Arts of War, you will be drawing some randomly, but later on, you would be able to actually buy a card, yeah, with some capability, depending on the war. In the first wars, for example, this for those 3 lords. Why I'm saying this is the most time-consuming phase, because you need to understand what you can choose, and you need to read all the cards. I know you might think, okay, it takes so much time at the beginning, but this is fun, guys. This is how you shape your lords. In my last game, for example, I was playing with Warwick, and you know, he's a pretty tough guy. He has a very, very good, abilities to bring a lot of troops. I said, no, I'm playing this time completely differently. I want him actually to be mobile. So I didn't went, for a lot of troops or anything similar, but I took, for example, great ships. I wanted him to be able to travel quickly and also to get more ships and more provender from this. But also I believe I took possibility to move quicker on the roads. I don't remember where I have it, but I have it somewhere. And that really, this is the red one. Okay, sorry, this is the red. It should be in the white Art of Works. So I took actually possibility to move on roads much quicker, and I took possibility to have more ships and quicker ships. And I had a very mobile Warwick who was jumping on the map and taking down the individual enemy lords. But you can also play completely differently. Take the capabilities which will give him a lot of militia, a lot of army, and a lot of supplies. He will be a little cumbersome, but he will have much more power. So, this is where we are. Yeah, with master. Now we'll focus on one more thing. We'll focus now on Parley. So first option in the master, but Parley is also the option in the commands during the campaign. These parlays are not exactly the same. They are slightly different. They are described in details in the rulebook. This is the parlay which you do during the levy 3.4.1, and the parlay which you are doing during the campaign. At the beginning, when we have started to play, I slightly was mixing this, but this is very important to understand the difference and what are the differences. So Parley in essence is gaining a favor. So in Levy phase you use, of course, the lordship. In command phase you are using the command. I believe it's good to discuss now both things, both the Parley during the Levy and the Parley during the campaign. So during the Levy, a lord may use its Levy action. You are actually use 1 point, and you can attempt to remove either enemy favor and turn it to neutral, or you can gain friendly favor in the area which is neutral. How do we do it? We do the check influence during this step. We would need to pair for ways. So, for example, if I'm here, I have influence here and would like to check, do Parley here, I would need to pay, first of all, the procedure is easy, yeah? 1 always, then 1 per way, so I pay 2. And of course, if I would like to increase my options, I can pay additionally 1 or 3 to increase my my options and my possibility to do this Parley here. Pretty straightforward, yeah, pretty easy. If you are not in a friendly locale, you need to first turn this locale friendly before you can actually Parley somewhere else. And as you can see, in Levy phase, Parley can work, I would say, on a pretty long distances, because you pay for the ways, and that's the most important thing, that you can do it far away. In the campaign phase, you cannot do it so far, because let me just double check it. I believe I have it well, but yeah, exactly. In the command phase, you cannot Parley further than in the hex where you are, in the locale where you are, or adjacent to this. In the Parley, in the Levy phase, you can do this Parley even further. This is very important. And if we are in the space where there is no favor yet, our favor, this Parley automatically succeeds. So just to repeat, Parley allows you to turn the space where you are in your favor, or spaces which are away from you. In Levy phase, you always do the check influence, both in the space where you are and in the spaces where you would like to do. This has to be a chain of friendly spaces. So you cannot try to Parley here. You would need to first Parley here, then Parley here. You check influence here, you check influence here, and only then you can do the Parley here. And this is during the Levy phase. In your campaign phase, you first need also to Parley here, but this is automatic in the campaign phase. And then you can only do this in adjacent. So here, check influence, but not here. I believe it will get pretty straightforward once you start to play. What I simply ask you to do, pay special attention to difference between Parley in the Levy phase and Parley in campaign phase. Parley in the Levy phase is not so much restricted, but you have always to pay and always do the influence check. Parley in the campaign phase is much more restricted, only adjacent spaces and where you are, but you don't pay for the Parley in the hex, in the locale where you are, and it is automatically successful. And guys, that's all about Levy phase. So I would call Levy phase a preparation for campaign phase. Yeah, this is good word. Let's move to the campaign, but in order to move to campaign, we need to take the command cards. First step is, of course, plan. We stack as many cards as the season says. 4, 6, 7, 6, 4. Winter, winter, spring, autumn, and this is summer. In the first phase, here we can see we turn to campaign. And for example, in this scenario, first war, we can either put 3 Somersets, 3 Henrys, or use some passes. Passes you don't use if you don't have to. It simply means that you don't have enough lords on the map and you are losing. So if we are to set up now our 4 cards, maybe we'd like to first move with a Somerset, then with Henry, follow up with Henry, and maybe again finish the turn with Somerset. We plan it, we put it like this, of course somewhere to the side, and then during the turn we start to play. We start, let me set up also the rebels. They have March and they have York. Let me assume that they would like to move with March first, follow up with him, and 2 moves with York. Okay. So how do we play now? We look who is the rebel. Rebel is York's because yeah, the king is Lancaster. So they turn first. Oh, March. We do the 2 commands with March first. Then we go here. Oh, Somerset. We do 2 moves with a Somerset here. The York is in danger. Can we react with him? No. You need to play your plan. Who is second? Unfortunately, it's March. We cannot do anything here. March is doing his business, some of his actions. And who is here? Can we now finish, I don't know, York with Somerset? No, we planned now Henry to move. So you see, this is the beauty of this game. You plan those cards, you plan your moves during the turn, and it can go sideways sometimes, or you can really gain good fic. If you kill an enemy or force him to exile or disband him during the turn and his card is being drawn, it's simply a pass. So it might also be, and it happens in our games, that if you manage early in turn, very hardly kick your enemy, half of his actions might be useless because the lords who were supposed to do them are not anymore on the map. This can happen, and this is really painful, of course. So this was the plan, and this is the command. So we do the actions. We can pass, of course, but as I told you, that means that something is wrong, and you are not succeeding. And feeding, some of the actions will need to use feed, and then you need to use provender. I will go through the actions in a moment, but I would like to finish the campaign to the end to explain it to you. So we plan, we do then 1 command card, one side, the other side, and do the commands in the number of command here. By the way, there are capabilities which are increasing the command. I believe there's one very nice for March, beloved song, something like this. Let me quickly check it. No. Oh, York favorite song, yeah. So if he has this capability, he would actually have +1 to influence and +2 command. So the game has an option to mark it. If he has this capability, he has +1 to influence, +1 to command. We have those things here. And I was wondering, why do we have it here? And you can put it here. And you can put second, you see? And you remember now that you have improved your rating. So, by the way, one of the key capabilities for March, I believe a must for him to be more efficient, especially this additional command makes a difference, makes a huge difference. Okay. What else? Oh, I didn't set up those guys, so it's not changing much. What else? Let's look at our player rate. So we plan, we do the command, we alternate the activations. When the last card was played, we go to the end campaign phase. And here we have a couple of things to be done. Tides of War, new thing in the Levian campaign. Award influence for favor and lords. And here our table is very important. I told you how do we spend influence on influence checks. During the levy, we need to pay the lords, and sometimes we need to pay the vassals. We lose influence for if we have unpaid or unfed army, and we need to pillage, or if we need to disband. But we also will be gaining the influence. The tides of war are here. How to read them? We'll add one influence in each north-south way. So if we have a lord in Wales, in south, London is not in south or in the north, each such lord gives us one influence. You will be calculating the net value, of course, of the influence between both sides, but you need to remember it. Then, if you dominate north, south of Wales, domination means all locales are friendly to you with your influence. There are capability cards which allows you to have only part of the area. And this is strong because it gives as many as 2 influence. Then we have the 3 important areas, London, Calais, Harlech. If you have favor and there is no enemy lord, you are getting 2, 2, or 1. Now, we have this track here with the most cities, most towns, most fortresses. Most cities grants you 2, most towns 1, most fortresses 1 influence. There could be a capability card, and if gain lord's influence turn. This additional influence, which happens only sometimes, it happens here after 1st, 4th, 6th, 9th, 11th, and 14th turn, and you simply calculate what influence of your lords, and you put the net on this. If you would have a march with this beautiful capability with 3, then it will be influence here. 5 plus 3, this is 8. 5 plus 5, this is 10. So 2 net for the Lancastrians. So this is important in those turns, if possible, to bring additional lords on the map and knock out some of the enemy lords from the map. I believe it was in the last play when I was actually playing with Warwick, this flexible way, him traveling light with a quick movement on ships and on the roads. I managed to get the weekend Somerset just before the 4th turn ends. And not only I got the points for him going to exile for his 5 influence, if he not decides to take part in battle but simply escapes, then you get this 5 points. But also at the end of the third, I got it once again because we were calculating how many influence on the lords on map we have. By the way, lord on map means here. Exile boxes and locales, not here. This is not lord on map. This is lord on calendar. Okay, so these were tides of war. Now disembark. If by any chance we have some lords still on the sea, not good idea, very bad idea. We need to disembark them to the ports, but we roll on 1 for a shipwreck happens. 5, 6, they are fine. Don't do this, guys. Don't do this. Just land during the turn. Now, victory. We check victory. We end play in a couple of situations. You can see it here. If a threshold was reached by one of the sides, so if this IP is at 40, the one side will win. Then you can have campaign victory, no lords on map or marked exit in next turn losses. If there are no lords on map, there's no way to bring those lords back here unless there is a lord with an exile. I was showing this to you because he moves automatically on the map. So if simply there is no way to bring anybody on the map next turn, you lose. And the scenario and victory, most influence points when you reach the scheduled end of a scenario. If it's 5 turns, 6 turns, and nobody achieves automatic victory by achieving the threshold or actually removing all the enemy lords from the map, you simply have to look at the balance at the end of the game. Okay. When we have grow, if August, September, so actually summer, remove depleted and then flip exhausted back to depleted. So we have grow here, here, and here. We will have also waste if October, November, December. So beginning of winter, we would remove Provender card ship, half of it, and coin and troops. We need to, if we have more than this, we need to reduce to that amount, which was at the beginning. They simply go for winter quarters, and some of the food of the stuff goes to waste. One thing which is interesting is this grid thing. You cannot discard assets voluntarily, capabilities, provender, coin, cards, other stuff, unless you cannot move. So if it helps you to move, you can do it. Otherwise, you cannot. You are greedy. And there is a reset. Discard this Levy campaign cards. There are such cards. And you can also discard any held events. You flip the campaign to Levy. You move it one calendar box to the right, and you continue. Again, with a Levy phase and then campaign. Levy and campaign. So I believe this is pretty straightforward how to do it. And the heart of the game is actually in this plan and command. And the commands are here. Let me now tell you a bit about the commands. I will go maybe not into the full detail, but at least some of it. The key command is march, and after marching, of course, you would need to feed your troops. They are exhausted. As I was telling you, march depends on the quality of the connection you will be using. Highway allows you for one command, so one action, to move to highways. So if we have a lord here, you can move to Wells and then to Salisbury with a one command. If you would like to move on road, he moves only here with one command. If he's here to move to Pembroke, he needs to use the whole card, so all two commands. When you travel, you need to have at least one card for each provender, because you need to bring somehow this stuff, this food, yeah. So you cannot do it otherwise. I'm just checking. Okay, when you are approaching the enemy lord, first of all, when you are moving here, this enemy lord might try to intercept you with a valor rating. But if you approach him here, he might voluntarily go into exile, or he might accept the battle. There is no avoid battle which allows you to just move back. No, there is no avoid battle here. And of course, if you are lieutenant or marshal, you can take a group of lords. Marshal can take anybody, lieutenant anybody except marshals. But of course, if you take 2 or 3 lords, you would need to feed the troops. And you feed, of course, the troops. This is 1 provender per 6 troops, rounded up. So if you have 9 troops, you pay 2 provender. And this is March, pretty straightforward. Let me do the sail now, because it's also allowing you to move. Sail also requires feeding the troops. And how can we move? Lord has to be at port, at sea, or in exile box, and it costs you the whole card. And let me show you what type of moves you can do. Let me take some lord here. You can either move from the exile box to the port on the sea, here, where there is no enemy lord, or you can go to the sea, to the next sea here. If you are in the port, you can move here, or you can move to the sea next to it. If you are at the sea, you can sail here and land in one of the ports. So in essence, you have I don't know how to explain it, 2 movement points, 1, 2, if you're here, 1, 2. I calculated that way, not to forget. This is my personal way of remembering how can I sail. Yeah, that way. And it uses the whole card. One important thing, one ship allows to move 6 forces, 2 provender, 2 cards. So if you have 2 ships, maximum is 12 forces, 4 provender, 4 cards. Supply, similar thing like in our Levian campaign. You need money, you need food, and in order to bring the food via supply, you can do it from friendly locale with no enemy lord, and you need 1 card per provender per way to bring it. What does it mean? Examples are best, I believe. Let's assume we have March here. This is friendly locale. He wants to bring, and this is depleted, exhausted, depleted around. He wants to bring food from here, and he wants to bring as many as he can. At this point in time, March would have 1 card. He is not very well prepared, so he would not be able to do it. In order to bring food from here to here, he needs 1 card to transport here and 1 card to transport here. So he needs 2 cards to transport 1 provender. And if he does the supply, he would get 1 provender, because each way he needs 1 card. And for each provender, he needs 1 card. If he would have 4 cards, he would be able to bring from Lincoln to Newcastle 2 provender. On this path, he would be using 2 cards, and on this path, highway, of course, he would be using 2 cards. He would be able to bring 2, and of course, he would deplete Lincoln. This is supply. Forage. We rarely use it. We usually use supply at locale that is not exhausted, and there are 3 options: friendly locale and no adjacent enemy lord, automatic success. 1 provender, and you deplete the this locale. If it's neutral locale and no enemy lord adjacent, you roll 1 for your succeeding. And if at enemy locale or enemy lord is adjacent to wherever you are, on 1 free you succeed. Taxation. Important to pay the troops at the beginning of a levy phase. We need a lord to tax locale, which can be friendly locales with no enemy lords. And there are 2 types of locales which you can tax. They cannot be exhausted, of course. One is your own seat. You add coin per stronghold type. So, for example, if we have March here, he has a path away, a safe connection from Ludo, so he can actually tax Ludo, and he would get that amount of money. If we do the supply, we are getting that amount of food maximum. If we have a pillage, we are getting this amount. So you see, guys, and also in Traces of War, we are getting this influence. Very nice table, very nice table. I like it. So if he is in Ludo, Ludo is a fortress, he would get 1 coin. Beautiful. But this 1 coin, of course, makes it depleted. Yep, it's Ludo is depleted. Okay. If we would like to take this tax from the vassal seat, friendly seat, or from London, Calais, or Harlech, so those special places here, here, and here, you will need to do the influence check, which you know. But this is really, really good, because as you can see, London gives free coin, Calais free, Harlech only 1, but so coin from here is really, really something you would like to do. Parley we discussed, pass also. So these are all the commands you can do. As you can see, there is no siege, there is no storm, there's only pure battle. And for the battle, which is part of the march. We will not be going into too many details. Here is the detailed battle explanation. I will do a separate material where we'll fight one of the battles we have in the rule book, and those battles, this will be boss wars, I believe, will be really interesting, and then we will analyze it. Okay. Okay, let me now check if there's anything more I would like to say. I believe that will cover almost everything which I had today for you guys. One thing which I would like to add is in the rules of play you have all those scenarios, which are pretty nicely laid, some of them with a map. We just set up this. They are smaller, larger. Oh, boss wars. This will be playing in the next material. We have also campaign Wars of the Roses, which connects all three wars and allows us to play through them. Exactly. So guys, that will be all for today. I believe this is long enough material for now, around 1 hour, so I will not prolong it anymore. I rather cut it in the smaller, more digestible chunks. This was how to play Plantagenet, the 4th game in the Levy campaign series. I believe really, really great designed and really well prepared from the rules perspective, but also from the components. I love them. I really like how they look like. I will be continuing this series. At least 2 more materials will be created. One will be depicting the actual battle, and the other will be telling you about only the differences from the previous Levy campaign series, probably much quicker than this one, and pointing them out. That's all for today. If you like this video, kindly please give thumbs up. If you like to see more content like this, I strongly encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Use the option to put your comments or opinions below. Really, it gives me a lot of pleasure, guys, to play those games, talk about them, and thank you for all the support and good words. Thank you also for watching this today with me, and then see you in another material. Bye.